those lists, because they were my specialty when I was at the source 20 years ago when I was doing lists. They really there's no basis for them, right? It's just a judgment call. It's blind judgment of whoever's in a position. And really what it is for those people who are making the list to go and get cool with the people who they feel like are on top of media so they can one day be in their spot. Because that's it, because you don't really know who's doing the list. So even at the source, what we did, right? We did put metrics together, and we did have a larger team of people back then to be able to vote on these things. And sometimes it got technical, right? Like let's do a list and let's put the numbers down. But really, we just put who the fuck we wanted to put on the list.
Yeah.
Come on.
But that's why I always stood by never letting a list define who you are.
It's really
it's really like, I understand what you're saying.
They're
like
fighting over it,
where do you fit in this media, thing that's going on?
I don't care though.
But that's
it's like I was
my point. My point I'm trying to make is a list doesn't define what you contribute to that space.
Right.
Or who you are.
Especially when it's a list of y'all don't read Complex for nothing else. Stop it. Like, just stop it if that's what you're doing. Now, all of a sudden, everybody want to talk about the list. Because they on it. That's the whole point. They're like, what are we going to do? Nobody's reading it. Oh, let's do a list of the media people so they could all talk about our list. But really, when's the last time you talked about anything on Complex?
Yeah, it's been a while.
You talk, but now we're talking about the list. Here,
but I don't think there's anything.
What they do it for?
I don't think there's anything wrong with constructive criticism.
Right.
I feel like, Elliott took what Charlamagne said personally.
Okay.
And when I looked objectively to what he was saying, I kind of looked at it as a constructive criticism take, because there is parts of you that undeniably have to grow up in media.
Right.
I say that to say, like you transition into television. I'm transitioning into the leadership role. Mm-hmm. One day, I'm not going to be on the radio every day. I'm on High 97 every day now, but that's not what I aspire to be forever, because I do realize that there is a whole new generation behind me that I should be coaching up
to bring them into to take those roles. Right.
But I think what happens sometimes is that the generation before me feels like they have to gatekeep forever. And there's nothing to gatekeep anymore because of the internet. Right. You can't gatekeep this shit no more. They do what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it. So the point is, if you're going to do something at that bigger age, don't be provocative in how you do it.
But let's back up.
But let me just say, and from his perspective, I see it. He saw the people before him, and I guess what he's saying is, I don't want to be them. I don't want to be 50 still trying to interview. Who was saying that? Charlamagne.
Okay.
But let me finish my thought. I don't want to be 50 still trying to chase something that a 19-year-old should be doing. And to me, I felt that was fair, constructive criticism.
Okay.
Because I compared it to Kamala and Biden.
Right.
Gen Z made it clear that they did not want Biden at the top of the ticket.
Right.
And when they moved her up, she had 70,000 new voter registrations within 1 week. Raised the highest amount of money that the Democratic Party has seen in the campaign. So I say that to say is like, there's nothing wrong with embracing your age because you have legacy, and nothing can take away your legacy.
So let's go back. So let's go back, right? Because we jumped ahead a little bit. I want to go back and say, so there was this list on this brand of hip hop media, like professionals, and the ranking of where they felt in what order of importance. Was it like the most popular? Like, what was the criteria for the list was my point. But anyway, so Elliott came in at number 5. I believe Charlamagne came in at number 4. Academics was number 1. Budden was 2. and I don't think I saw a woman on the list at all. But
No, Angie was on there.
What was she?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but she did make the list.
Okay, great. So we have a woman. Great. Like, you know, I always find that odd when it's like all control, like so male dominated. But so they had this list, and then Charlamagne made a comment on his Brilliant Idiots podcast about where Elliott fell on the list, and then what you talked about, you know, just his, what you call constructive criticism. Elliott took that, posted it, said, fuck you, and then now it's proceeded to be for the last 4 months, no, I'm kidding, 2 weeks, them going back and forth and, like, you know, saying things. It's because Charlamagne says something in response to that, right?
I don't think he said anything.
I thought he did. I thought he went on the Brilliant Idiots podcast again. And,
no. I think he said what he said. No, I think it was just one sitting.
One time?
Yeah, that he said what he said. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think, because if you think about it, Elliott has mentioned him in the past. I remember watching Elliott say something about him on Academic's show a while ago, before the list, saying something to the effect, I'm just not feeling him like that, or something to that effect. But damn, I just lost my train of thought because I was
probably because I was just probably cutting into, because I get Elliott. He gets emotional, but that's what makes him who he is in the space today. Right? His emotions, the fact that he reacted the way he did, the fact that he came out. Because I think a lot of people, and I'm not justifying his actions, right? But it is kind of personal when you saying where I should fall on the list. It's personal because we all know these lists are not really, there's no criteria. We don't know what the criteria, show me the numbers or the metrics of how you, it's a popularity contest, right? So it's what they think is good. So if you're going to come out and say, hey, I don't think he should have been 5 on the list, right? That's a clear, I'm coming for you a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so the other party has the opportunity to respond the way they want to respond. And what's kept Elliott so high in the rankings, the fact that he is 5 on the popularity contest, is that he does shit like this. You know what I'm saying? So I see it more so as a media move for him. But because if he don't say nothing, he falls lower on the list. You got to do that dumb shit. Like, they go back and forth, Academics, and all day they just...
But that's my whole point, though.
You got to do it.
I think my whole point I'm trying to make here is that you are going to say things because you want him to react and respond to you.
Absolutely. That's the game, though. But that is the game. That's what the name of the list should be. You know what I'm saying? It should be the list of
let me ask you this.
Catty back and forth men.
But let me ask you this.
Top 5 catty back and forth bullshit.
But does it come to a point where, because I watched this play out.
Because it's not like they're not doing stories like that.
But I watched this play out with 50 Cent and Rick Ross too. And I said this on my radio show. Does it come a point where it's like, you're too old for this?
Yes, but I think that that's what we said at the top of this, right? Like, we're in this where we're talking about things in our lives and we're doing this, and this is for, like, to me, I look at it as like what we're doing is for a completely different audience. Because ain't nobody that's going to watch, you know, their streams or what they're talking about wants to hear what we have to say. But there are people who want to hear what we have to say. And it's probably people that grew up, you feel me? Yeah. Like, and there are our age. I'm not doing this for, like, that particular audience. I have a lot of things to say, and that comes from the experience I have as a woman, the experience I have in the, you know, in my profession, right? Just in life. It comes from all of that. And I think that that's why it's great what we're doing. But that particular, I do come from that space. Mm-hmm. I won't deny that. So I can, you know, I have that in me as well. But I couldn't be on people asked me for a long time why I didn't podcast. I can't do that. I can't be like, oh my God, Drake just dropped the record. Like, I can't do it online all day. Yo, did you hear? Like, what are y'all doing all day? But that's the game. That's where the game is. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's their business. I don't know what you call it anymore. I guess you call it the media, on the media list. I just can't, that's not the content I'm consuming, like, constantly. I consume it because it's entertaining as fuck. So I love it. I watch it. I love a Shade Room post and funny shit, and I love to dig into the comments and look at stuff. But at a certain point, I got to shut that off. Like, I can't be engaged in shenanigans all day.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's what their business is. And that's what the business of hip hop media has become.
Yeah.
It's the business of hip hop shenanigans.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. It's a shame, but, you know.
And I also think that, too, you know, people jump out the window and say things about you when they feel like they should have had the success you've had, if not more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, you can't deny that the Breakfast Club have built something special.
Absolutely.
And outside of that, Charlamagne has built something successful. You cannot deny that.
I would never.
You cannot deny that.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like in the media space, they sometimes say things or throw darts at him because they feel like I've been doing this longer and in their mind better than he has. Why haven't I surpassed him?
Well,
And I'm not just saying that about him in particular because, you know, obviously I work for Hot. He works for Hot. I don't care about. I never in my entire radio music industry career have cared about being in competition with someone because at the end of the day, we don't own these radio stations. So I never got caught up in like station rivalries. And, you know, all of that. I don't own it. My name is not on it. you know, when they're ready to fire me, they will. You know, but I'm not just saying that particularly about him. I'm just saying in general, when we talk in our last episode about Cardi B, you know, a lot of the hate comes from the fact that people feel like I've been doing it longer than her and she's better than her. How come she has had this amount of success and not me? And then that turns into hate and bitter. So let me mention her name so that I can get attention on myself. But in the reality is you're just hating.
In a way, because I think it depends on what your goals are. Like when I look at Charlamagne, I think Charlamagne, one of the things he's mastered is the pivot, right? So before something is up, he's like, I'm going to go in this lane. I'm going to go in that lane. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a book. I'm going to do a podcast network. I'm going to do, you know, so television, whatever it is, he sort of mastered getting himself into different spaces to grow.
But I'm a challenge you.
As a media person, personality.
Is he pivoting or is he showing us what it could be? Coming from black media, a black media personality.
Right.
Think about it. Think about a black and brown media personalities. How many of us have gotten to the game and had that level of success? Wendy Williams was right on the cuff of being that for us in her generation. From someone who came from a microphone, a radio girl. I'm a radio girl, so I can talk about this.
Right.
Wendy was on the cuff of showing us what this shit could be. I feel like he is showing us in real time what this shit could be for us.
Yeah,
I get that. And that to me is inspiring because I come from that.
But it's growth, right? It's
growth.
Also growth. It's seeing yourself in a bigger position as you grow.
And when we think about our radio heads, when I think about Russ Parr, who has a nationally syndicated morning show in DC for many, many years, what he's been able to do in film and all the other things that he's been able to do, I don't think he gets enough credit for the path he paid for a lot of black media coming from urban radio people. I look at Steve Harvey and I say, okay, well, Steve came from comedy, he came from that, then he came to radio. But when you look at our white counterparts like Ryan Seacrest, Elvis Duran, all of these people, they get those looks. We oftentimes don't get those big looks.
But I also think we're talking about two different things, because here you're speaking from a radio perspective, right? And when we look at what Charlamagne does and what Elliott does and where they came from, they really came from two different forms of like media that now have merged. So now it's the same thing. But 20 years ago, or even 2025, I don't know how long everybody's been in the game, they had separate functions, right? But with the advancement of technology and where we came, even in a space of social media, right? Because that probably is the most influential broadcast platform that we follow, all of us, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people aren't listening to radio the way they used to. Lord knows nobody's reading a magazine, right? Mm-hmm. But everyone's on social media.
Yeah.
So those two roles have now merged into this different role. And it's very personality driven. And it's, the radio personalities, they have that advantage.